ask you, Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson returning before. See the cause I want to say about this and check this out.
So here's the thing. We have entered a time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where literally anything is possible. You've heard me say this before, but I truly mean it, and anything really is possible. We're about to dive deep into the multiverse in Phase 5, where they're going to show us that if you can think of it, if you can imagine it, it is really possible, including the return of Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man and the return of Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. Now, of course, with Avengers Secret Wars coming up in the next few years, really anything is possible. However, these new reports actually state that Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson are going to be returning in projects before Secret Wars, and they're not going to be in the Kang Dynasty. Instead, Robert Downey Jr. is said to be returning in Armor Wars, and Scarlett Johansson is rumored to be coming back during the Thunderbolts. Now, with Scarlett Johansson, we had heard in the past that she's actually on board to direct a Marvel movie, and Marvel is going to give her a movie to direct. However, we could have been a little bit mistaken about that, and she could simply be returning in another film, the Thunderbolts. The only question is, how exactly? With these two movies, it doesn't look like they're going to be exploring the multiverse too much. In fact, it seems like we pretty much know a decent amount about both of the plots for both of these projects, and the multiverse really isn't that involved. So, how exactly will these two return to their iconic characters without undoing their sacrifices? Because as weird as it sounds, there is a reason these two characters are dead. These two characters in the MCU, Iron Man and Black Widow, sacrificed their own lives to save the universe. So their deaths and their sacrifices actually mean something. So how can you bring them back without undoing that? Well, there are a couple of different ways for each of them to return that actually make sense and would fit in the story. Rather than just throwing them in to throw them in, these couple of ways they could put them in both films would make sense storytelling-wise. So how exactly are they going to return? Well, let's talk about Robert Downey Jr. first. Now, first things first, if you are not aware, Armor Wars with Don Cheadle is being made into a movie. And based off of what Marvel Studios has said and Don Cheadle has said, the story was kind of too big to be a Disney Plus show, which it was originally going to be. So now it's going to be a big movie with a big budget. Luckily for us, and luckily for the movie, because if this report is true, coming from My Time to Shine Hello today, they'll need some of that to bring Robert Downey Jr. back. Because one way that Robert Downey Jr. could be returning as Tony Stark / Iron Man himself is the one that makes the most sense, and that is for him to return as AI. This idea is pretty easy to grasp, considering the fact that Armor Wars is actually going to be about what happens when Iron Man, Tony Stark technology, falls into the wrong hands. So even if Robert Downey Jr. doesn't return, he's still going to kind of have a pretty big presence in this movie. After all, Rhodey is still going to be rocking the War Machine armor, which of course was given to him by Tony Stark. Then he's going to be dealing with Iron Man tech that is in the wrong hands. However, according to a report from the insider My Time to Shine Hello, who has been extremely accurate with her scoops, Robert Downey Jr. is returning. And she says so with quite confidence, might I add. She said, Robert Downey Jr. is back, baby. For Secret Wars for sure, and there's been some talks for a cameo in Armor Wars. So as far as returning in Armor Wars goes, AI makes perfect sense. However, that's not the route I believe they'll go. That would probably require Robert Downey Jr. to kind of stay on board for a little bit. Something that I definitely don't think he wants to do. Could he pop up for a cameo? Absolutely, but not come back in any type of main role or play any type of main AI. So the other option is flashbacks / old video messages. And that includes some type of recorded projectile message like we saw him do for Morgan at the end of Avengers Endgame. I'm assuming Tony Stark left quite a lot to Rhodey. Specifically, probably a lot of his Iron Man stuff. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Tony Stark left him his entire personal garage. Different Iron Man suits, all of the equipment, his cars, all of that stuff. That would be a great gift to his best friend, who happens to use an Iron Man suit. So if this scenario comes to fruition, it would make sense that Tony Stark left him some sort of a message, or perhaps Rhodey simply goes through old messages that show Tony Stark talking to him. I think that if we're going to get a cameo for Robert Downey Jr., this is most likely what we're going to get. An old recording of something, or a flashback of a time that we didn't see on screen before in the MCU, of him and Rhodey simply walking and talking as friends, or talking business. Either way, it will be set in the past, and Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man isn't going to be resurrected. resurrected, which is a good thing. Yes, it would be nice to have him return as Iron Man in the MCU, but again, it would undo everything that he's done. And the same kind of goes for Black Widow. However, there is a way for her to actually return and still be alive. It's very controversial, but you'll all have to let me know what you think. But first, a big thank you to Wonder for sponsoring this video. Now recently, I'm sure you've seen all of these people online posting art made by AI. And Wonder is an app that makes it easy to turn your words into digital art. There's been some really cool work created by AI, and Wonder makes it really easy to do. All you have to do to turn your words into mesmerizing digital arts is enter a prompt, pick an art style, and watch Wonder bring your idea to life in seconds. Describe to Wonder what you want it to paint, such as life under the sea or shattered rainbow, then pick a style and hit create. And you can get really creative with this app. For example, I tried a cat as a person scuba diving, and this is what it came up with. And of course I had to try some Marvel things, so I tried Spider-Man underwater, and of course I had to try Tom Cruise as Iron Man. I even typed in Iron Man if he was painted by Van Gogh. So click the link to download Wonder and get a free trial of the premium version to put your creativity to the test. Premium includes 20 styles, it's faster, it's unlimited art, and there are no ads. Again, you can download Wonder right here by clicking this link and get a free trial of the premium version to put your creativity to the test. So with Black Widow more so than Iron Man, there is actually an option to bring her back to life in the MCU. This is kind of possible for Iron Man as well, but I really doubt it. But again, it is to actually bring her back to life as a character, and the way to do that is to say that she was a Skrull the entire time. Now, before you jump off the deep end and freak out, I'm just going to go ahead and stop you there and tell you that I don't think this is going to happen. Although, it definitely could. Secret Invasion is coming out before the Thunderbolts movie. And like I mentioned in a previous video, which we'll have linked in the pinned comment, Secret Wars could change the entirety of the MCU as we know it by saying that some of our heroes that we've known and loved were actually Skrull. Now, I'm assuming they won't do this too much because it's kind of a big slap in the face. However, if they want to show big consequences of the Skrull and how big of a threat they are, them impersonating other heroes is a great way to show it, and this did happen in the comics and was a huge storyline. So they could say, much like how Talos impersonated Nick Fury, somebody else was kind of impersonating Black Widow. However, I don't think it's plausible, and if they did decide to do it, it would indeed be a huge slap in the face to Marvel fans. The reason is because of course she sacrificed herself for the Soul Stone, which means Clint technically sacrificed somebody he loved in order to get the stone. Now you can argue that even if it was a Skrull who was trying to do good, Clint could have loved her, or at least thought he loved her. However, I'm assuming that Red Skull and the Soul Stone knew. Since they don't just accept anybody, I'm assuming they're going to know if it's actually Black Widow, the actual person that Hawkeye loved, or a Skrull. So if they did this and they brought her back this way by saying that, oh, the one that died was actually a Skrull, it's just a huge problem, and they absolutely should not do it, although they could. And like I said, they could also do that for Iron Man as well, although it would be a pretty big screw you, and it would undo the biggest movie of all time, which they're never going to do. So this most likely isn't going to happen, however, it is an option. But of course, the most likely scenario for both Robert Downey Jr. to return and Scarlett Johansson to return is in some type of a flashback or recorded message. Since Scarlett Johansson is rumored to show up in the Thunderbolts movie, we're assuming that she is showing up because of her sister, Yelena Belova, who is going to be a part of the Thunderbolts team. We also know that Yelena Belova is going to be the new Black Widow of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, taking over the mantle of her sister. Plus, not to mention, she's going to have a bone to pick with Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, a person who she works for who told her that her sister's death was caused by Hawkeye, which led her down a path of going to kill Hawkeye. However, Hawkeye told her the truth, which is going to lead Yelena back to Valentina, who she still works for, at least for now, and she's going to be asking a lot of questions, and these are going to be about her sister, Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. So when this happens, I'm assuming we're going to see some flashbacks. We could see some new pictures of her that we never saw before, or some new videos of Yelena and Black Widow together, again, which we never saw before. Basically, a new scene that would require Scarlett Johansson to come film new scenes. The same thing goes for Robert Downey Jr. So these are the two most likely ways that both Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson could return to play their legendary and iconic characters of Iron Man / Tony Stark and Black Widow / Natasha Romanoff. before Secret Wars. Keep that in mind, because for Secret Wars, it's pretty easy for them to return as variants. That's simple. Just say they're from a different universe and they look exactly like the same variant from Earth 616. Remember, some variants do look the same, although some do look different. We've seen the same variants of Wanda and Doctor Strange look the same. However, we've seen Spider-Man variants look different, and we've seen a lot of Loki variants look different as well. So for Secret Wars, I would fully expect to see Robert Downey Jr. and Scarlett Johansson return, simply playing variants of themselves from other universes. But let us know what you think about these theories in the comments down below, and what do you think about the two of them returning? Do you have an idea of your own of how they could come back? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe so don't miss out on any of the latest news. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.
Yeah, please subscribe, like this video, and see you guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like this video, and see you guys. Bye.